Hi, I am Claire and I make weekly Sims videos. So this video is a apartment complex for university students. This is built in the world of Brightchester, and this video came about because I decided to make a community poll to see if you wanted me to build a duplex or a apartment complex, and it was a split vote, and so last week's video was a duplex. So if you want to see that, go ahead and check that video out after you watch this one. And so I decided to make this specifically for university students because people are getting started or people are just barely getting started, but it's that season of going back to school. I've seen some other YouTubers do back to school university stuff, and so I thought it would be fun if I did it too. I just started this last week, or maybe 2 weeks when this video comes out. I'm trying to work ahead, but for school reasons, obviously. And so we are just going to be working on this common space right now. When you first walk in, that's kind of like the mail room, front hall area, but this is like more of a common area. If your Sims have a away game for their university, maybe they could come down here and watch that game together, or they can go upstairs. This is only a 2-level apartment, but I do have TVs up on those levels too, so maybe if they're not on that team, they can watch something else up there. And so we are just going to be adding some chairs. I really like how these chairs from Discover University fit. I could make a simple little L shape. I didn't want to go too pack crazy. I always try to be cautious that not everybody has every single pack, although I do want to have a crazy pack build. But if you have any ideas of what packs I should use in a build, let me know down in the comments. If you want it to just be very specific packs, let me know down as well. I did recently just get the horse pack, so if you have any ideas for a horse pack build, I'd love to hear them. And now we are just going to be working on our first dorm. So this dorm is kind of more of a studio apartment type of feel. It has a small kitchen and a bed dresser. I feel like these rooms were a lot bigger when I was planning this, but then once I added the kitchen, they're like, oh yeah, I don't probably have room for 2 beds, and so I'm glad I decided to do the kitchen first. I mean, I could have obviously done bunk beds, but I decided to not do bunk beds on this room, but I do have bunk beds in other apartments, it's not this one. But I did want to use the beds that came with Discovery University with a little storage underneath. They do look like they could be dorm, apartment beds, and I feel like since this is male space, you want that storage underneath the bed. I mean, this is a lot that is off campus for both of the campuses, and so maybe not having a dorm room bed would make that much sense, but I haven't used that bed in forever, and I was using Discovery University, and so I'm just like, why not? I'll just have a Discovery University bed since I'm using that pack. And I did have this room for an artist, as you could see by the art easel. I tried to give each of them something oh, this one's an art student, or oh, this one's a culinary student. And so I did try to add that in, but I didn't do it with every apartment, so it's easy if you want your Sims to have a specific room or area of this apartment complex that you don't have to change too much. And so we are just going to be adding lunch boxes. I am really happy that we have these items. I think have them in every build or every apartment, just because I was excited to use them, and there's just now a lot of storage in this game and in this apartment, because they do count for refrigerators, I think. And so we are just going to be going and adding a matching backpack, and I do change this swatch to be a little bit more neutral, and now we are just going to be adding some curtains. I feel like having a high window would make a little bit more sense to just keep out the privacy, or keep the privacy in, and just to make, since it's on the main level, just for the privacy. And so we are just going to be adding just some other decorations. I want to keep this very simple. I feel like this is one of my bigger builds, and so I didn't want to make it laggy with all these different items, and each apartment does have its own bathroom on this main level. The top level has to share with everybody, and so we are just making this a very simple bathroom. I'm using the shower from Discover University, which is a shower I feel like I should use more often, but I just kind of forget about it, just since I don't always build with Discover University, or I'm building a house that doesn't really fit with that pack, and I don't really like it when I use one item from one pack and then everything else is base game or something. And we are now just in the second apartment, and this area is very similar to the last one, so I did try to change it up, but it is still that kind of open concept studio apartment feel. And so we do make this more kind of a girly apartment, I was thinking it would be, or just a sim that likes pink, likes maybe makeup. And so we are just going to be adding a desk so they have a private space to study. They don't want to go out into the common area. And so we are just going to be copying over some books. I am really glad I found the lunchbox and the backpack when I was building the first room, because it made it a lot easier to copy and paste rather than scrolling through the catalog. Maybe you saw in my last video, I kind of mentioned this towards the end, but I found it very difficult to find the backpack and the lunchbox, and so I had to stop recording, and then I found it, and then everything was back right in the world. But it was really frustrating. It's like, this item has always been in this one spot, and for some reason I couldn't find it. And so we are just going to be adding some posters and going to be adding some upper cabinets. I wanted there to be different cabinets in the apartment than the communal area. You might have noticed that. I just wanted it to be a little bit different, but still the same with the white color. And so we are just going to be adding some more posters in this front room of the first floor that you already saw me do, and it's going to be making that hallway very simple. Just had added a little picture and going to be adding a plant, and now just going to be adding some books. Maybe it's like the sim had books on the shelf because it couldn't find the book in the very bottom, and I'm just going to be decorating this little bedside and going to be adding this lamp, which I don't really feel like fits, but I thought it'd be funny that the apartment kind of came with this, even though this is off campus, that there are still it's still for university students, and so there's still kind of those random things where it's maybe the previous university students left those items there, or maybe the owners of the apartment just kind of provided lights for every room. I do use that lamp in other places because that's kind of more what I was thinking was going on. And so we are just going to be adding some pictures from the Dine Out pack, which is another pack I don't use that often, but we are back in the other dorm room, and this is one for 2 university students, so they can share this room, and going to just kind of making it the same as the other 2 with an open kitchen, kind of a studio apartment feel. And I was thinking that maybe this area will be more like roommates, since this isn't technically university housing. You need to find your own roommates to have on this lot, which maybe it would be a good thing to choose who you want to be living with. And so we are just going to be adding some side tables and going to be adding those lamps back in, like I said. And I do use some items from the Tiny Living pack, and so I wanted to sprinkle some of those around. And now we are just going to be changing the bed so they don't look all the same. And I thought it would be fun to have like some like university school bed theme. And I thought that would be fun just to have both of them in, just since this is off campus for both of them. I'm sorry, I keep saying off campus. I will try not to say that for the rest of the video. And so we are just going to be adding some interest. I thought that this sim with the yellow bed could be into music, and the sim with the university themed bed would be into sports. And I was trying to see the best place to add the spike was, and I decided to add two into the front area of this building. And now we are just going to be adding a dresser, and I did try to have a dresser for each sim, so there are two in this room. Might maybe have had a tighter fit, but I feel like there should be the same for each of the sims. And I did want to like kind of make it like, okay, this is mine because the cabinets are blue and the cabinets underneath my bed are blue. And so we are just going to be adding a little Bob Pancakes poster by the kitchen area. And now we are going into the last apartment in this area, and I do have a bunk bed in this area. And so you can see I'm just copying different items because I wanted it to have the same type of feel throughout this space. And so the best way and easiest way to do that would just be copying and placing these items. And so you can see that all the sinks are the same. And now we are back in this area with the bunk bed apartment on the first floor. There is another bunk bed area upstairs, and so I really wanted all of these rooms to be different with like a studio apartment feel. And so we are just going to be adding those bunk beds and going to be changing the swatches so they match with the bottom and the top, and going to just be adding some backpacks because there wasn't really much room in the space. And so I decided to just add it on to the common area. Maybe those sims like just were doing their homework, got a text from a friend, or maybe it was like meal time somewhere else, and so they just kind of dropped what they were doing and went to go to maybe the sports game or something. And so we are just going to be adding a lunchbox. I really did try to make it seem like these sims maybe had like classes back to back, and so they couldn't like eat in class, and so they're just packing a snack to eat on their way to the next class. So that's why there's so many lunch boxes, or maybe they are going on a field trip. I don't really know if colleges do field trips. I am in college, but I do it online, and so life is always a field trip, basically, whenever I leave the house. And now we are just going to be adding a guitar. Since I added that little music poster, I thought it would make sense to add a guitar. And now we are just going to be adding a dressers into this bunk bed main floor apartment. And I decided to use one of them as kind of like a nightstand for the top bunk. If you've seen my other builds, you know I like also adding shelves, but I don't really know if like maybe the apartment wants to, or the apartment owners want to have like a shelf there. I do know that sometimes apartments like only want like 6 holes in walls. I was talking to a cousin who's a freshman in college, and he said that his apartment or dorm apartment will only allow like 6 holes in walls, and I'm pretty sure that's like I'm actually not sure if that's like only for him or if that's like for him and his roommate. And so we are just going to be adding some more plants. I didn't like how it was cutting into the into the planter box area, and so I just sized it down and added another one. And so we are going to be adding some interest for these Sims, and so I have a microphone and a soccer ball, and going to be going and on to the second level. I did take a break between the first level and the second level because I knew it was going to be a lot for me to try to do all in one, and I needed lunch, and so I decided to break these up. And so we are first starting with the two front apartments in this area, and so these rooms do actually have doors on them, so the bedroom is separate from the kitchen and living space, but they do have to share a hallway that's in the bathroom for all four of these apartments. I know that is kind of another apartment like university hat or thing, is that you have to go into the hallway to share a bathroom. I don't know if that's like with everywhere, but I do know that's another like dorm experience that is out there. And so we are just going to be adding a backpack, and I did want this area to feel separate, especially with this being like one of the only apartments with like a separate bedroom area. Even though there are two different like Sims in here, I still wanted it to feel like it was its own room, so I added carpet into these bedrooms, and we are just going to be adding a chair into this corner because I felt like a chair would just be nice, just kind of filled in that space. And I felt like these Sims that were staying in this apartment would be into sports and would be into gardening. You can see that with the soccer ball and with the plant that you can groom, or maybe not groom might not be the right word, but you can like shape it into different shapes, obviously. And so we are just going to be adding some posters from the Snowy Skate Pack. I was thinking maybe that sim with the sports side could maybe be from Mount Kamiari, and so they're like looking at like a poster of the mountains because it reminds them of home. And so we are just going to be adding a little kitchenette in this area, and going to be going and adding just the usual things. I very much wanted this area to feel like the rest of the apartment, so because that's kind of what you get. You just kind of get the same things in every apartment, and I try to make that because of make it similar to real life, add some realism to this. And so we are just going to be adding a TV from the Tiny Living pack, and the couch is also from that pack, just for the Sims maybe that their sports team isn't at a away game, but they didn't really want to watch within the community area, and so they are like, hey, let's just watch another game or game show on our TV in an apartment. And so we are just going to be adding some more sports things. I really wanted this Sim to be a very big sports fan, and I always use the Brightchester stuff, and so I wanted to use the Foxberry items. And so this apartment is definitely a Foxberry of Sims, and I thought it would be funny to add this poster from the Snowy Skate Pack, where it's like kind of that sumo mad dude, because like it's on that Sim's roommate's side, so like he can't touch it, he can't like tell him to move, but it's funny because it's like kind of a scary picture of a sumo guy. And so we are just going to be going and into the next apartment, which is the biggest apartment, I think, and so it has a full kitchen from wall to wall, and I was imagining that maybe these Sims would be in the culinary career, or they're going to school for culinary, and so I wanted this room to have a large kitchen, although it is another studio apartment with 2 beds, and so we are just going to be adding another Foxberry bed because, like I said, I don't usually use these Foxberry items, and so I did add a chest table in here for the skill building item, and because I wish we could have like chest tables where you just put it on a table. You don't have to have a chest table, you can just put the chest set on a table, and so I decided to make a compromise and just pretend that this can be taken off and put on, even though these are like culinary sims. Maybe they like playing chess too. They like doing that in the downtime, and so we are just going to be adding a mirror, although I'm pretty sure that mirror does get moved into the next apartment I'm doing. It's just kind of an item I saw and I thought I should place down before, so I didn't forget about it. That mirror is nice. I just forget about it because I don't always build with Discover University, and so I am just trying to find another skill building item, and I decided on a violin, and I actually do add 2 violins, or 2 violins total into this space, and so we are just going to be adding some more posters. I really fun adding that picture collage, and now we're just going to be adding some more kind of science pictures, and going to be adding a book locker, or a bookshelf that looks like a locker. I actually do move that down the stairs when I was taking screenshots. I had to like reload the game, and some of the items went to my inventory, and so I had to replace them, or replace them where I put them. But some of them I forgot where it was, and that bookshelf was one, and so I ended up putting it on the main floor because I realized there was no bookshelf on the first floor, and so I put it kind of in the hallway area where the stairs are. So we are just going to be adding some climbing here. I thought that'd be fun. Maybe the sim is in a climbing club. And now we are back in the chef's kitchen. I'm just calling it the chef's kitchen because there's a lot of apartments. But I really wanted to add a apron, because I always add aprons into my builds because they're just kind of like a household item, something that makes this really realistic. And so we are just going to be going into the apartment next to this, and this is another wall-to-wall apartment. Maybe these sims are also culinary students, and so they wanted a nice big room, and I did add a carpet where the bedroom is, just so they can have some separation. They can kind of feel like there is some separation since this is a very open concept, and so we are just going to be adding the beds and the matching dressers, and going to be adding a laundry basket because I feel like that's something that I probably should have added in the rest of these rooms, but I'm glad I just kept in this one because it makes it feel unique to just this room. And so we are going to be adding a table into this one because these sims don't like playing chess, and that's okay. So I do have 4 chairs around this table just to make it like they can all like maybe have dinner at this apartment and then go over to the other apartment to watch the game or something like that. And now we are just going to be adding a pile of laundry and a laundry basket, so you can kind of see a difference between these 2 sims. One of them has their laundry nicely folded, and the other has their laundry still kind of spilling out of the laundry basket. And so we are just going to be kind of making sure I didn't forget any items, trying to place the walls up so then I can add different posters or add the same posters in different swatches. And so I really thought this bulletin board with like the little cork pictures on the side was a really cute item to add, and we are just going to be adding some rugs and going to be finishing up these 2 back apartments and going to be going into the final apartment, which is like the first room I did on this second level. I do have bunk beds in this room because I feel like they're smart for being a space saver, and I did want to have a desk in this room, and so you can see I'm just copying it because I didn't want to scroll all the way through the catalog, and going to be adding a desk chair. I feel like maybe that's another item that the housing provides, is like desk chairs and maybe even desks themselves, because they do look pretty big to be hauling around everywhere. And so we are just going to be decorating this desk, trying to make it kind of simple, and going to be adding some pictures from the tiny living pack, and going back into the bedroom to add another TV. Maybe one group of Sims wants to watch another game show and the other wants to watch a comedy, and so they kind of split off from there. And so we are just going to be making the kitchen a little bit larger in this apartment. Well, I guess it's kind of the mirror image of the apartment across the hall. No, I probably should have just done this apartment first before I did the duplex, and then I could have been like, oh, it's apartment duplex, because that's kind of how it ended up, with a lot of the same like mirror image with a floor plan. And so we are just going to be adding a book cubby shelf, and going to be adding some backpacks because they snapped, and now we are just going to be finding a swatch I haven't used, which was difficult. I'm pretty sure I do repeat swatches, but that's okay. I'm just glad we have more of them. And going to be adding the lunchbox, and just kind of finishing up this bedroom area before we go and into the bathroom. The bathrooms are very mirror image, and so I'm going to be showing you one of them instead of both of them. But I do find these new stickers that are kind of more like informative, like community building stickers, and I thought they would be good. It's like, here's a trash can, here's to go if there's an emergency, and so I thought it was fun to add these different stickers or post plaques. I don't know what exactly to call them, but I felt like it was nice to kind of make this space feel more like a communal space. And so we are just in the final room, which is the bathroom, and it's pretty much like the others. There is just a separate like sink area. So we are getting close to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed watching. Please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, make sure to hit that bell button so you can be notified of every time I post a new video, and when I do a community poll, so you can vote on what I build next. If you have any ideas of what I should build, leave them down in the comments, and I hope to see you all next week for another Sims 4 video. Bye!